If I get a single comment about someone saying that I'm black so I can't have blonde hair, I'm just gonna block you from my channel, so. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Zhariya Smith, and I typically make commentary videos just like this one. Today's candle is Mango Coast, and let's just get into today's video. Also, I wanted to give a burn update. You know, last week I told you that I burnt my hand pretty badly. Here is the update. I scratched off the scab in my sleep. Woke up and it was bleeding, which is why there's that little like spot right there. It's like blood, dried blood. Still we're working with, but it doesn't hurt anymore, which is good. So, you know, you live and you learn. But so recently I've been kind of like looking back, and I used to do this thing on my channel where I would revisit old videos, movies, TV shows that I loved when I was younger, and kind of looking at it now from a now 2022 perspective and seeing if it aged well and things like that. And I just want you to sit back and imagine that it is 2011. Kim Kardashian is in the process of divorcing her husband, Kris Humphries. The Kardashian siblings are being sued for a financial issue. It was a credit card situation that they had. Friday by Rebecca Black was also on and poppin', and it was released in 2011, I think. Oprah also ended her show of 25 years, which was a really big thing. I remember my mom was talking about like Oprah, like, and her show was like no longer airing or whatever, but she does stuff now, so I feel like I don't know why it was such a big deal in 2011 anyways. Major film series like Twilight and Harry Potter having their moments in pop culture. J.K. Rowling was still loved and no one hated her yet. And I was turning the ripe old age of 10 years old this same year. MTV decided to release a banger of a show, one of my favorite MTV like shows, Awkward. I actively watched it air for all, what was it, like 5 seasons, and I was obsessed. I loved the cast, I loved the moments, I loved watching just teen shows in general, but like I loved watching teen shows like Finding Carter or Faking It or Jersey Shore, Teen Wolf. Like I just loved those little teen shows, especially when I wasn't a teen yet. So, you know, that's fine and dandy. I'm also like hot right now because it's really hot and I can't put on my fan because then it's too loud and it's been like really annoying. So you're just gonna have to deal with you're gonna have to just see me sweat and just feel really gross. So, you know, just so you know, I'm sweaty right now and I'm not enjoying it at all. But what's interesting about Awkward and why I wanted to revisit it, because the premise of the show was honestly insane to think about. Now, the whole show isn't about this because obviously she eventually does get out of her cast, but the show Awkward is basically about the lead character, Jenna Hamilton, and now she navigates high school after her failed attempt that wasn't actually a attempt, but everyone thought she committed, had to go see her school guidance counselor. We'll get into that. But the point is that this show was so bizarre because like 13 Reasons Why, where the show starts, or the premise is that a person is bullied and harassed so bad that they unalive themselves. This show was that a person received a letter, wrote in her blog, and just because of awkwardness essentially, it just entails her life as she navigates after this accident that occurs. MTV was so poppin', and like now ridiculousness just holds MTV's entire broadcast schedule captive. I wonder if like Rob, what's his name, Deerdick, what he has on the MTV executives, because something, and you remember when Tana Mongeau and Jake Paul tried having, what was it, a ridiculousness spinoff that only lasted a pilot episode and then it was canceled. You remember that? But that was a really, really long intro and context to 2011 and just general MTV vibes. But I want you to understand where I was coming from, 9-year-old / 10-year-old me watching this show when it came out and falling in love with it, and also just the general times. And now I want to actually watch the pilot episode. I was going to want to rewatch the entire series, but I don't have time like I used to. So we're just gonna watch the pilot episode and we're gonna see if it truly aged like milk or if it aged like, I don't know, orange juice. What's something that ages like a little bit but not too bad? Like juice, like boxed apple juice. boxed apple juice.
For 15 years, I fantasized about everyone noticing me as I walked down the hall. What would I be wearing? Would every guy worship me? Would I be 5 inches taller and have porn tits? No, that was not my reality. My moment in the spotlight sucked some serious ass. But, like any good horror movie, my nightmare began at summer camp.
So, out the jump, I just want to say that a lot of TV shows during this time it also is just a product of life in general, do not know how teenagers speak. And I find that really funny because like Euphoria is definitely like a big contender of this, but this at least was a very product of its time. Like I feel like kids or teens in 2011 were kind of talking about this. I'm not a millennial, so I can't really speak to that. But I feel like that when I was online, teens were generally talking about this, like this. But it's funny looking back at it and seeing like this little intro, you know?
He was perfection. Unlike me, I was a hot mess of nerves because Maddie McKibben wanted me, a nobody, to meet him in the utility closet.
And also, we get introduced to Jenna's main love interest. It does fluctuate throughout the show and as the seasons progress. But Maddie McKibben, I had the biggest crush on him when I was younger, and I'm honestly glad looking at this now that he isn't like, how do I say this, ugly. I find that, you know, like those shows, like what was it, like Sunny with a Chance, where they try to convince you that the blonde guy Mackenzie Falls was the most attractive man ever when he really was just an average miscellaneous white male that just got cast in the show, and now suddenly everyone thinks it's attractive even though he wasn't really that attractive. He was just kind of like mid, if you will. And it's actually funny, he actually is attractive. And also what's interesting is that the characters in this show do look more like teenagers than like Euphoria, but definitely not like Degrassi.
Hey, you are the J-Town.
So he wasn't a poet. He was still Maddie McKibben.
But nobody can know that I like you.
Just like that, the love interest, Maddie, he decides that even though he's attracted to Jenna, he doesn't want to be seen around her because she's lame, and I'm a jock and I can't be with a book girl, a girl that reads and has her own thoughts and opinions.
He blew you off?
That's crap ass. But I sort of saw it coming.
And you didn't warn me?
It wasn't
Like I saw it psychically or anything. Guys like Maddie don't go for girls like us. Can you imagine how suicidal you'd be if, God forbid, you actually took your shirt off?
I can only imagine.
I spent some sad times at Jenna High, and you have got to snap out of it.
marching band's having a kegger at Ricky Schwartz's house tonight.
I need my favorite wing woman there since Ming's bagged out.
Is she grounded again?
Yeah, she
She can't get her PSAT scores above 120. Her parents are starting to think she might not be Chinese.
That's so not cool.
I didn't say it, Ming did.
So I also want to say this is before the catalyst, what starts the show, but the conversation between Jenna and Tamara is honestly like so 2011, and it's actually hilarious. Probably more 2010, but like still the same vibe, because like look at her outfit, look at the words that she uses, look at the subtle like little racism, and also the slut shaming, which I wouldn't even say is like slut shaming is like less prominent now, but back then like it was like, oh, you like took your shirt off for him, like gross, I can't believe you would do that, you know, which is honestly really funny to look at. And honestly, her outfit is giving very much Hannah Montana, Shake It Up, like just, and why are people wearing dresses over jeans? Like, why was that even a thing? I remember I wore that. I had my brats wear that. Like, what were we thinking? So then we get to the final catalyst of why this show is happening in the first place, and that is that Jenna receives this letter. It is not a horrific letter, but it's still a letter that sucks. And like, obviously I know who wrote the letters, but if you decide to watch Awkward in your leisure, I'm not going to spoil for you who wrote the letters to her, but it will shock you. And she writes in her blog that she literally just wants to die. And of course, she takes aspirin, goes take a little bath, and of course, chokes on the aspirin. Writes in her blog that she literally just wants to die. And of course, she takes aspirin, goes take a little bath, because why would you take big pills without drinking water? That's stupid, or really any liquid. And slips, falls, breaks her, I don't know if it was her shoulder or her arm, because it did not say, but it probably was her shoulder, because they had her arm like lift, you'll see, arm like lifted up or whatever. And now everyone thinks that she tried to commit the sewer slide. She tried to unalive herself, which is not true. So it was really interesting that this show was like, I literally did not try to do it, but everyone believes that you did. And it's honestly a really interesting dynamic. I don't know how that pans out in terms of like social consciousness, or like, the show very much is a masterclass in gaslighting. If you ever want to know what gaslighting is, well, you'll see it in this show. But it's just really weird and interesting to think about. And after the scene, we get introduced to one of my favorite characters, which is funny because like in this show, she's literally the bully. She's not the bully forever, but like she's my favorite character. I was obsessed with her, and I really hope that like she doesn't literally suck, because it would say a lot about me if my favorite character in a TV show about a girl who didn't commit, everyone thinks that they did, and literally gets harassed. I liked her bully. I feel like in shows and movies, I don't like the bullies. Like, you know, the like stepsisters or the twins from the Bratz TV show. Hated them. I usually hate the bullies in shows, but I loved Sadie. Sadie was my bread and butter, let me tell you.
The loser wants us to talk about her. That's why she did it. It was a pathetic ploy for attention.
She should go to church.
Or Thailand. Only a pedophile would screw her.
But also the hot take of you just wanted attention. Ugh, definitely not what we're rocking with this year. It's funny, like this show is 10 years old, 11 years old, and oh my gosh, I feel so old, but I'm also so young.
So I know Mr. Michaels was your guidance counselor last year, but considering your recent
Accident.
Yes, considering your recent accident, Mr. Michaels thought we might be a better fit. You know, girl on girl. I mean, girl to girl.
Okay.
Next, we also get introduced to Jenna's guidance counselor, who was also my favorite, and I loved her. And she honestly is such a huge representation of what it's like seeing school therapists or school guidance counselors in America. They kind of suck. Like, they almost always suck and don't particularly care about your well-being, which sucks because they work with kids, but you know, that's neither here nor there. The main turning point of this pilot and what of this show is that Jenna decided to volunteer herself for this little pep rally little game. She wins. Everyone's like, oh my god, look, the suicidal girl actually like has thoughts and feelings and actually does stuff. And wins, and everyone's like, we're gonna follow her on her little blog and we're gonna have a good time. And Sadie, actually, which is also why I was so empathetic with her character, she was paired up with Maddie, and she couldn't fit into Maddie's clothes because obviously she was like the fat character that was like a bully and like all this stuff. And it was honestly so emotional because having issues with weight is something that's very common with a lot of girls in high school, and it was interesting to see that the main popular high school cheerleader was the one who's dealing with these issues, you know? So the rest of the show carries out themes like relationships, Jenna's friendships, like who's a real friend, like people can change, how high school kind of changes you and how you grow as a person, and honestly just the trials and tribulations of high school. But it's actually more so accurate than a lot of high school TV shows like Skins, for example. Actually, I think Skins is technically, I'm not from England, but I think it was technically like a after you graduate high school, but you're like 16 years old, so you're in like that middle school time frame, whatever that is. I'm not British, so I guess I will get back to you on that one. But I feel like in terms of shows, it hit really all the bases, and MTV was honestly a real one for that show. And well, I will say, there are some things that are said or statements that I'm kind of just like, eh, like that's a little bit cringy, but definitely not like Glee. Fun fact, I never actually watched Glee, but I have watched videos of people recapping Glee, and I'm like, why was that allowed? But even shows from like 2016, like Scream Queens, so cringy, and that takes place in college. I was in college, well I still am, but like, that's not what college is like at all. Truly embarrassing. Overall, the show was a hoot. Like I said, I love this show, and I'm glad that the pilot wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, because I was honestly scared that I was going to get my entire love for this show ruined. And I think while MTV was a little bit misguided and was a tad bit kind of like aging, like, I don't know, like orange juice perhaps. I will say that it was a generally good show, and I guess with that said, let's just wrap this up. So let me know your opinions on Awkward. Did you watch Awkward in your teens? Were you a fan of MTV teen TV shows like Faking You're Fighting Carter or any of those shows? Let me know down below. Let me know your opinions on Awkward or this pilot. Do you think that it aged well? Or did it age like milk? I want to know genuinely. And I guess with all of that said, if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it does help little channels like mine. You can also make sure to subscribe to me down below. I just hit 6,000 subscribers and I'm gaining a lot of subscribers right now, which is kind of spooky and scary. But if you want to help my channel grow, subscribe to me, I guess. And make sure to leave a comment like always. And also just make sure to stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys.